the recording now. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Johnson. I'm the State Director for Adult and Family Education. And we'd like to invite you, thank you for accepting the invitation to participate in today's FY25-26 Consolidated Competitive Grant Pre-Application Conference. This is our second conference. The first was held on Thursday, April the 3rd, and the recording for that conference is on our website, in addition to other information about the grant competition. Also providing support for today's session is the AFE team, comprised of Stacy Downey, Tracy Richard, Nakia Lynch, and Cynthia Brown, who's not with us at this point in time, Dr. Heather Bruce, and Dr. Indy Diagne. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk a little bit about the OSSE AFE website, the request for application, the evidence of demonstrated effectiveness tables, the grant application, the paper-based component of it, and other related documents. We'll take a peek at the Enterprise Grants Management System, and then we'll talk about the questions and answers that were submitted and that are available for your review on our website. We'll share some additional resources and some important dates. So we were accepting questions relative to the grant competition since the RFA was released on Monday, March 31st, through Wednesday, April the 23rd at 3 p.m. Those questions and answers are available on our website, and we'll show those to you in just a few minutes. So I'm going to spend some time looking at some elements of that were covered during the last pre-application conference, but also taking a deeper dive into the Enterprise Grants Management System, which is where you're going to actually submit your application, the Budget and Finance Workbook, which we recently posted on the website, and then the questions and answers. So I'm going to...
I try not to say I told you so.
Yeah,
So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to share the application itself in OSSE's Enterprise Grants Management System. So you'll have to register in eGMS in order to create a grant application. This is the link that you click on, GMS Access Select. And you will see, well, the login will probably look different for you. I'm in a test environment, but I want to share with you an application so that you can get an idea of the content of the application in the Enterprise Grants Management System. So I created this application, and so I'm going to click on the link and walk through it so you can see it. So the application is comprised of an overview, give you some background information about our organization, the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, and our charge with providing education and other related services to children, youth, and adults throughout the District of Columbia. through our unit, the Adult and Family Education unit in the Post-Secondary and Career Education Division at OSSE. We are responsible for providing federal and local funding to eligible providers to offer integrated education and training, inclusive of digital literacy and digital skills training to district residents. The goal is to help students acquire the knowledge and skills that are needed for them to transition to college and careers. The various grant programs that we oversee include the Adult Education and Family Literacy Act, Section 231, Adult Education and Literacy Activities, Section 243, Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education, Section 225, Programs for Corrections Education and Other Education of Institutionalized Individuals. And then we have AFE State, AFE Local, Gateways to Careers, Connect to Tech DC federal grant, which is some funding we applied for and our pending notification, and then AFE Connect to Tech DC Local. Also within this section is the application review and scoring. And so this just provides information about the review panel, which will be in a group of independent individuals from various backgrounds, post-secondary ed, adult ed training, workforce development, etc., who will review the applications and score them using a rubric. The panel will add and average the scores, and then at the conclusion of the process, we'll make recommendations to the state as to which applicants should be funded. We will also work in collaboration with the district's Workforce Investment Council to make decisions about the applicants who will be receiving FY26 funding. The application criteria is here: very good, good, fair, and poor. And we also reserve the right to conduct site visits to ensure that the applicant has the necessary fiscal, human, and material resources to implement the integrated education and training plus digital literacy and digital skills training program. Also in this section is the information about the composition of the paper-based application and the criteria and the specific points that available points that an applicant may receive. So this is the project information section where we have the proposal summary, organization, mission, and goals, statement of need, alignment with the district's WIOA, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act Unified State Plan, and other district state plan. DC has a digital equity state plan and other plans that are related to workforce development. And then we have organizational capability and past performance, which is worth 8 points. And the total available points for this section is 16. For section B, program design, this is where you are provided an opportunity to specify the specific INT program models for which you are seeking funding, indicate the proposed number of students to be served by program model, and the total number of students to be served. You also will provide us with information about your program entry requirements, the methodologies that are used to provide career pathways for district residents, occupational competencies, your single set of integrated learning objectives, the curriculum and other relevant materials that you'd be utilizing in your program, and then program enrollment, participation, and completion, credentials and certifications that students will be eligible to earn. We do require applicants to provide district residents with an opportunity to earn entry level and industry recognized credentials during their tenure with your programs. And then applicants are also required to describe work-based learning opportunities, employer partners, etc., and incentives that are provided to students in Section B. Section C includes other programs.
Excuse me. Good morning, Ms. Johnson.
Hi.
What is the total amount of points that can be earned for Section B? I'm taking notes.
No worries. I'll go back to it. 38. I'll go back to it so you can see it.
Thank you. Thank you.
No worries. $38 points for B. Thanks for asking that, Ms. Mays Crawford. Section C, other program elements, the total available points are 38, includes student assessment, instructional program, information about the ways in which you integrate technology, your facilities, equipment, supplies, and materials, supportive services and resources, the provision of career pathway, and the other related transition services, partnerships, marketing and outreach, key personnel, and then your core outcomes team, and then data collection, management, and reporting. Section C. And then lastly, in Section D, fiscal management. This section is worth 8 points and includes organizational policies and procedures, and then your budget with detailed planned expenditures in the enterprise grants management system. So the scoring summary tab is as follows: 16 points for Section A, 38 for Section B and C, and then 8 for Section D, for a total amount of total available points equaling 100. So this is in the application itself. So please, this is really what the scoring rubric looks like. And so the readers, once they complete their review of your application, you'll be able to see the scores. Okay, the second tab is listed funding distribution. However, you'll see zeros on this tab because these amounts won't be determined until after your organization has been selected as a subgrantee, and we provide you with an award letter that specifies the approved level of funding that you will receive per grant type. So please note, there's nothing for you to do on this tab. If your organization is selected, you receive a grant award letter, and the specific allocations for each type will be entered into the enterprise grants management system and reflected on this tab if your organization is selected as a subgrantee. Contact information is pretty simple. You'll see a lot of test data here. Like I said, this is the test database. So you're going to include your agency name, address, contact information, the person who leads your board of directors, and then the program site contact person. And then you can also add up to 5 email addresses for individuals to whom you would like to receive notices from the enterprise grants management system. The board of directors tab is where you will enter information about the individuals who comprise your board. You can add additional sections if needed. There'll be a button down there that says add additional ones, so that's pretty easy. The program profile is a tab that you will complete, specifying information about your program, where it's located, the ward in which it's located, and then the program category, the number of students you'll be serving, the hours, etc., partners, assessment instruments, technology, other sources of funding, etc., and then the program director and manager's name. Okay. The program design tab is the tab by which you will primarily be entering all of the pertinent, additional pertinent information and uploading documents. The first tab is the program model overview. And so it just gives you a summary of integrated education and training, which includes adult education and literacy activities, workforce preparation activities, and workforce training for a specific occupation or occupational cluster in alignment with the Workforce Investments Council's high demand industries, which are listed below. Additionally, we are asking that providers integrate digital literacy and digital skills training into your program models. Even though we've listed the high demand industries that are offered by the workforce in alignment with the Workforce Investment Council, if there is an industry for which you would like to offer integrated education and training, you can propose to do so, but make sure that you include the rationale for the program offering based on labor market information, job projections, and other related data, as well as partnerships with relevant employers for that specific occupation. So the program models, this is where you're going to specify the program models for which you're seeking funding. Program model 1 and 2 focus on adult basic education that services the individual's grade levels 1 through 8, adult secondary education, and for individuals with literacy and numeracy skills, grade levels 9 through 12. 3 and 4 focus on services to individuals who speak English as a second language. These service ESL students, the grade level correlation is 1 through 8. And then program model 5 and 6 is for corrections education for returning citizens. And so please make sure that you specify the projected number of students to be served per program model. You can only apply for one type of AFLA federal funding. So either you will apply for AFLA 231 by checking these two boxes or one of these two boxes, or you will apply for 243 by checking both of these boxes or one or the other of these boxes, or AFLA 225. So while we require you to select only one type of AFLA funding, because you're receiving AFE State, AFE Local, Gateways to Careers, and AFE Connect to Tech local funds, those funds may be used to serve anyone, as long as they meet the eligibility criteria in the request for application. The total number of students to be served should be between 100 and 125 students. So here on the tab that says grant application is where you will upload your paper-based grant application. So please make sure, and I'll show you that in a minute, that you upload the paper-based application on this tab. In the attachments tab, there is a sub-tab titled Evidence of Demonstrated Effectiveness. This is the tab where you will upload quantitative and qualitative data as to the effectiveness of your agency in offering integrated education training and digital literacy services to district residents. So please make sure that you upload that documentation on this tab. When we receive this evidence, the OSSE AFE team will review the submission of evidence on this tab to determine whether or not you meet OSSE's standard level of performance. Those applications that meet the threshold will be forwarded to the grant readers for review and scoring. Those applications that do not meet OSSE standard will not be forwarded to the readers, and the applicants will receive a letter and an explanation as to why the application did not move forward.
Michelle, I had my hand for a minute. I wanted to ask a question going back to the funding sources.
We can't answer any more questions. When we released the RFA in March 31st, we stipulated that we could only receive questions and answers up until a specific point. So, Troy, the answer to your question may be in the grant reference guide. And so we'll review that in a few minutes, okay? In this section, project information, this is where you will upload evidence relative to the organizational capability and past performance. So please make sure that you upload the evidence for E and G in these sections. For section B, program design, you will upload evidence for 1D, 1E, for question 9, D, and G, and ARA, and then for question 10, B. So please make sure that you upload the required documentation for these sections. For C, other program elements, you'll be uploading documentation for number 4, number 7, and number 9. And 9 has, make sure you upload for 9C and 9D as well. And then lastly, for section D, fiscal management, you'll be uploading documentation for B1B, C, and D, and then 2B. So please make sure that you review this section carefully and that you upload the required documentation and evidence that is needed to move your application forward. The next section tab are the insurances. So you just need to read all of these. These are the grant requirements. And I think it's important to note that we require you to have the fiscal, human, and material resources necessary to fulfill the grant requirement, that you hire qualified staff and faculty to perform the key responsibilities of the grant. And we specify these Your instructors, we prefer that they have a master's degree or at a minimum a bachelor's degree with 2 years of experience. Vocational instructors must have an industry recognized certification, credential, or license in the area for which they are providing vocational training to your students. Your career readiness and career exploration activities can be facilitated by individuals who are not vocational instructors or trainers, as long as they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do so. And then we also have specific guidance here about the digital skills of the individuals that serve as academic and vocational instructors relative to making sure that they acquire the North Star digital literacy badges. Anyone who's providing, and we have specific key areas for the badges that we want the instructors to have, and that anyone who's providing GED instruction must take the GED Ready exam as well. And then we have other information about recruitment, retention, enrollment, and assessment of students, the provision of integrated education and training, the collection and maintenance of data, monitoring and reporting, and submission of cost reimbursements and other time and effort, other related documents. And then there's additional information relative to the outcomes that students are expected to achieve during their participation in integrated education and training programs. So please take a peek at that, and then you have to acknowledge it. And then there's the assurance summary. Which, you'll just type the date in and save it. The last few tabs, this is the section for grant modification request forms. This is where once you become a sub-grantee, any amendments to your application or your budget will be done by completing specific documentation and uploading it on this tab. And these are, you will submit what's called a grant modification request form for each of the specific applicable AFE grant types. So there's a separate form that needs to be submitted whenever you want to make a change. And then the last tab is the submit button. Once you complete the application, review it, run a consistency check, and then it'll tell you that the consistency check has been successful, and then you'll see a button that says submit to OSSE, and so you'll submit it. The application history tab shows the steps in the application process, and then the application print button allows you to print the application. You just have to check the boxes and request print. Please note that the print isn't automatic. It takes some time before the application will be available. So just please take note of that. This, the application section above is where you will enter information from your budget and finance workbook, which we'll review in a few minutes, on each of the applicable tabs. So this is where you enter information relative to the salaries and benefits for each of the members of your staff. The next tab, professional services, is where you enter information about consultants, contractors, those individuals who are providing services in support of your program. Equipment is rarely used, but this is where any expenditures for equipment must be $5,000 or higher. All other supplies and materials and things of that sort that are below $5,000 are supposed to go in your supplies and materials tab. So this is where you'll enter that information. Fixed properties. Enter the information on there. Rent, utilities, things of that sort. And then other objects is the very last tab. So in addition to listing the item, there's a drop-down menu. So this is all test data, so I really can't show you, enter anything in here, but it's pretty easy to complete. And then the last tab is the budget summary. It specifies the activity, the code, the activity description, and the specific amounts per category. You can see the total below. So you'll complete the detailed plan expenditures tab for either AFLA 231 or 243 or 225, in addition to local, state, gateways to careers, and connect to tech DC local. Again, we have not received any notification from the Department of Commerce relative to the proposal that we submitted for federal grant funds. So right now, there's nothing for you to enter on that in the EGMS. Okay, so that is the Enterprise Grants Management System. I'm going to go back to the dashboard for a minute, just so that, so once your application is approved by OSSE, meaning that you've been selected as a subgrantee, you can click on View GAN. Because this is a test environment, it's likely that the GAN will populate, but I don't think that it will because this is the test, so I'm just going to close it. This is where you will create an amendment. Say, for example, you decide that you want to move money from one line item to another, or you had anticipated hiring someone in December, but you didn't hire them until March, and so you need to make a change. The View Payments tab allows you to see cost reimbursements and payments to your grant. Again, not sure if it's going to link it because it's in the test environment, but I wanted to see if you will be able to track and monitor and submit requests for cost reimbursements. And as you see, EGMS moves at its own pace. So this is the where you would go to submit, track, and see cost reimbursements. This is test data that I entered in here. But when you click on review the reimbursements, and you'll see a listing of the various AFE grant types. And then what you'll see is a reimbursement that I created. And in order to see what's in it, you just open the request and you can see tab by tab. I'll just go to the summary so you can see it all. Please make sure you save as you go along. This is a sample of the summary because this you will of the expenditures that you will be entering into the cost reimbursement template if you are selected as a sub-grantee. I'm just going to show you this last little piece. So this is where you enter the information for which you have expended grant funds, and then you upload the specific evidence and documentation down here. In addition to putting in the grant period, the date of your unique entity identification, expiration date. So just wanted to show you that. Go back to the dashboard. And then you have view, review, summary. And again, that just tells you where the application is in the process. Okay. So that is EGMS. Now what we're going to do is review the, I think I'll just go here. Everything that you need to apply for our grant funds is located on the OSSE website. When you come to the website, you're going to go to topics, adult education, and the link to this is all in the PowerPoint. Adult and family ed, you're going to go under providers and partners. And then at the top, you'll see the word grants. So the request for application, the paper-based application that was released on March the 31st is here as a PDF and as a Word document. So please make sure that you review the application thoroughly. The section I want to make sure that you are mindful of is the evidence of demonstrated effectiveness chart. So please make sure that you take time to review this section, the evidence of demonstrated effectiveness, because this is where we will pre-screen the information that you submit to determine if your application moves forward to the readers. So this in this section, we're requesting background information for the two most recent program years, complete program years. So we're asking for FY22-23 data and FY23-24 data. Please do not, we are not, for this section of the application demonstrated effectiveness, it must be past performance data, not data for 25. And the period is July 1 through June 30th. So please, again, please make sure that you are submitting the evidence for the respective period in which it's being requested. So the first chart should be completed by applicants who are currently or who have been previously funded by OSSE Adult and Family Education, because you will be providing national reporting system data in Table 1 for measurable skills gains, for employment outcomes, and for credential attainment. And please complete these fields below, the field below as well. Make sure that you upload and submit all documentation in EGMS where I showed you earlier. Those of you who are new to OSSE AFE, have never received our funding, you'll complete Table 2. And so we're asking for documentation of student performance and progress relative to measurable skills gains or grade level equivalent outcomes for both students who speak English as their first language and those who speak English as their second, depending on the program model that you want to implement. And then your employment outcomes, second quarter, fourth quarter, median earnings, and then credential attainment. Students who obtained all credentials, entry level, industry recognized, as well as high school, secondary school credentials as well. And then specify the management information system from which that you utilize, for which you're providing this information. And then in both sections, list the names of the files that you're uploading in EGMS, and don't forget to upload them. Please take time to review the pre-application process. You have to register in EGMS. You have to request EGMS credentials. You have to complete central data in the Enterprise Grants Management System, obtain a DUNS number, request a SAM expiration date, make sure that you upload and submit a clean hand certificate and a certificate of good standing. And if you need technical assistance, we've included instructions on how you can log into EGMS and support a help ticket. And you can click on the link right here in the application. And then this is just information about the pre-application conference, which this is the last one. And this is information about the question and answer summary, which is now posted on the website. The application is due in EGMS on Wednesday, May 21st by 3 p.m. We will not accept late applications. So we really encourage applicants to submit 2 to 3 days in advance, because you never know if EGMS, you see how it's running now. It's slow sometimes. So in order to ensure that your application is submitted in a timely manner, please try to do so 3 to 5 days in advance of the due date. Okay. We will be reviewing the evidence of demonstrated effectiveness that you submit Thursday, May 22nd through May 27th. And on May 27th, we will be forwarding the applications to the grant readers for review and scoring. The announcements will be made on Monday, June 30th, 2025. And a list of the selected applicants will be posted on the OSSE website. You can also follow these steps in section 9, which really is a walkthrough of the different tabs in the enterprise grants management system that I just demoed for you. This is just step by step, each tab and what you're supposed to do. So that's why I started with EGMS first. There are some administrative and indirect cost caps for our grants, and you'll see them in the budget and finance workbook. And they're also specified for you here. And this, like I said, this section includes everything that's in EGMS by step by step by step. So you can use this as your guide. We also have an appeals process. If an application is rejected, either upon review of demonstrated effectiveness or at the final award decision, or OSSE fails to provide funds in the amounts in accordance with the requirements of statutes or regulations, an applicant can request a hearing. One thing to note for sure that throughout the entire application, we specify that the amount and level of funding is based on our receipt of funding from the U.S. Department of Education, the DC City Council, and the Department of Commerce for the Connect to Tech federal grant funds. So we, with everything that's going on, we can do our best. And so please know that grant award amounts are subject to change based on funding levels. This is a sample of the paper-based application. Please do not type in this document in the RFA. I blackened in the cells to make sure that no one entered any information in these. This is just here, FYI, so that you know the specific components of the paper-based application, but it is not designed for you to enter any data into it. Okay, so that's there, FYI. And then we also have below the next section, I'm going to show you that after D, is the same information about the review panel and the scoring rubric. It's all in this section. The last thing I want to share with you we have this information about the grant awards in here. This is the Comprehensive Adult Student Assessment System CASAS correlation chart for adult basic education and adult secondary education. Please make sure you review this chart when you're determining which IENT plus D program models you want to implement. And in that section of the RFA, we specifically encourage you to review these charts so that you can ensure that you have the capacity to offer programming to these individuals. So this is also CASAS math, and up above is the reading scale scores and grade level equivalents. And then for English language learners, we have the correlation chart for reading and listening. So please review, and then the math goals for those students as well. And then at the back is the definition of terms. And so please make sure you take a peek at these. For anything you don't fully understand, make sure that you review these definitions. And there are also links that you can click on to get additional information as well. I'm going to go back up to the program model section just so that you can see what I was mentioning about the models. Before I go to the program models, there's additional information about us in this section of the RFA, specifically relative to our role in funds to eligible providers, facilitating state leadership activities, professional development, technical assistance, and monitoring, our provision of resources to education, training, and workforce providers and partners, and our maintaining and reporting state and local program performance, progress, and outcome data to U.S. Department of Ed, U.S. Department of Commerce, if we're selected as a sub-grantee, city officials, and other key stakeholders to facilitate continuous improvement at the state and local program levels. Also, if you become a sub-recipient, you are responsible for serving as a Workforce Investment Council and Department of Employment Services, one's American Job Center partner. And so we have key responsibilities under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act that we have to perform in collaboration with other district government agencies. Throughout the application, you will see requirements that are federally imposed and others that are district imposed. And you will see notations as to whether or not, if it's a district imposed requirement, it will say so. And then specifics about the funding sources and the authorizing statutes are located here on page 9. And so this stipulates that the funding that we receive from the U.S. Department of Ed includes these 3 AFLA funding sources. The funding, the local funding that we have includes AFE State, AFE Local, Gateways to Careers, and AFE Connect to Tech Local. And then the funding that we are pending notification from the Department of Commerce would include the AFE Connect to Tech federal grant funds. So please take a moment and review those funding sources. If you are selected as a sub-grantee, you will receive funding for fiscal year 25-26. Based on your performance that first year, you may be eligible to receive continuation funding for 3 additional years. So that will be fiscal year 26 through 27, fiscal year 27 through 28, and fiscal year 28 through 29. The reason, usually our grant competitions, the number of years may range between 3 and 5. The reason we opted for a 4-year grant cycle this go round was try to, in an effort to align ourselves with the Department of Commerce federal grant funding cycle that we are pending notification of. So if you meet our performance requirements and your students are achieving the respective outcomes, you will receive a continuation grant award for those 3 years. And so this is the criteria for continuation funding. We, in our monitoring, we have a monitoring tool. So applicants, sub-grantees must attain 80 points on the final monitoring review, meet the state's performance targets, and maintain compliance with the grant terms and conditions to get that fund, to get those continuation funds. This is a cost reimbursable grant, so you have to spend money and then submit cost reimbursement requests to be reimbursed. So please make note of that. And so additional information about the various federal grant types is specified here. The Adult Education and Literacy Act activities are listed here, which encompass just about everything in 231. Then for 243, that is the integrated English literacy and civics ed. Those are the specifications for these grant funds. And then for corrections education, section 225 is there. And the U.S. Department of Education has federal funding considerations that are specified here in this section. And so we review your applications to ensure compliance with these funding considerations as well. And then we just provided a brief description about the Connect to Tech DC initiative. The expectations relative to this work will be modified based on our receipt of funds from the Department of Commerce or not. The eligibility criteria, please make sure that if your organization that is able to serve individuals 18 years of age and older, they must be a DC resident or ward of DC, and the individual is not someone enrolled or required to be enrolled in secondary school under state law, and that these are individuals that have basic skills deficiency, including students with high school credentials whose literacy and numeracy skills are not at the adult secondary education level. And then relative to the district's unified state plan, the mayor has prioritized services to these individuals, which is everyone that we serve in our programs, but be mindful of that as well. And then this is a listing of eligible providers, individuals who can apply for our grant funds. Please note that we do not fund startup organizations. So you must have documentation and evidence that you have provided the services for which we're seeking applicants. If you're planning, there's information about the location of programs. Eligible providers must be located in this area, and then information about partnerships. Please read this carefully if you're planning to work with other organizations to apply for these grant funds. And every organization who applies as a consortium or a partnership must have evidence of demonstrated effectiveness, and they must have data supporting the organization's capacity to provide services. If you're not licensed by the Higher Education Licensure Commission in the District of Columbia already when you apply for our grant funds, if you are a community-based organization, you will be required to do so as part of this process. So please make sure you review that as well. I've already reviewed the grant requirements, and I just wanted to go to the program design section that specifies the program models. This is the section I was referencing where it says to please reference attachment A or B, the COSIS charts, so you can determine the specific population of adult learners that you plan to serve. So I just wanted to share that with you. The other documents on the website include the paper-based application. This is the actual application that you are required to complete. The fields in which you are to provide responses are blank. So please make sure that you complete Section A, project information, which is worth 16 points. Section B, program design, which is worth 38 points. Please be mindful that for this section, program design, the first question is asking you to specify the number of students to be served, right? And again, that should be between 100 and 125 students. So from question 1A through 1E, you are responding for the collective number of IENT programs you plan to offer. So if you want to do, suppose you're going to offer construction, education, and healthcare, so you will click all three boxes. However, questions 2 through 11 must be completed for each of your IENT program offerings. So, for example, for program offering 1, say for example, for program offering 1, this is going to be your healthcare. For example. So you will complete section 2 through 11 specifically for that IENT program offering. Then program offering 2, this will be information technology. You're going to complete section 2 through 11. For that program offering. Number 3, deconstruction. You're going to complete sections 2 through 11 again. Before, I have a hospitality program. Number 5, so please note that you have to complete 2 through 11 for each program offering. Some of you may have 1 program offering, some of you may have 2, but you have up to 5 templates to be completed. And when the reviewers read your application, they will be rating the totality of all of your program offerings on the scoring rubric for section B. Just want to make sure that I share that with you. Section C, which is worth 38 points, is for your program collectively, right? Respond to the questions based on all your IET plus D program offerings collectively. So you're going to answer all the questions here in the blank spaces and upload the applicable documents in the tabs that I showed you in EGMS. And then section D, fiscal management, you're going to do the very same thing. And there's even this time, we even put little memory joggers in here that where you specify that the documents have been uploaded and submitted in EGMS, so you can check behind yourself to make sure that your submissions are complete. So we tried to include that everywhere where a document needed to be uploaded and in EGMS to make sure that we gave you a little memory jogger. So that's the paper-based application. The other documents is the key personnel workbook. We shared this in the first. You can probably listen to both pre-application conference webinars or look at the PowerPoint. This is the key personnel workbook. It has instructions, and all you're going to do is give us specific information about the folks who work in your program, whether they're funded with the grant or as part of the match. Please make sure that you include that information in this workbook. the schedule of program offerings. This is another workbook and there's a sample here. Thanks, a sample template. So please follow the sample and complete one for each of the classes that you offer in your programs. There's a blank template. I do believe there are 10 of them. Yep. 10 tabs. If you need more, feel free to copy them. So please review that. And then we also included some sample documents for you, classroom observation, the monitoring workbook. What I want to show you now is the budget and finance tracker. So we just uploaded this recently. Please make sure that you review the instructions, which provide you with guidance on how to complete each tab in the workbook. We have key definitions. We have a description of the budget and program categories in the enterprise grants management system. So please review this before you add specific expenditures to this budget workbook. We have definitions of the WIOA career services and training categories. We have a sample certificate of single audit for those of you who expended more than 1 million in federal funds last year. Well, I'm sorry. And then those, you have to complete this if you expended more than 1 million, and this if you expended less than 1 million. But there's a blank template for you to complete. There's a sample grant modification request form. You can use this in the future if you select it as a sub-grantee. And there's a blank template. And then there is a sample salaries worksheet for you to review, to where you can look at whether or not you're preparing to pay staff for 12 months or for 15 months. The AFE local budget is the only budget for which we're asking you to prepare it for a 15-month period. This is because the grant cycle in the enterprise grants management system is based on a year grant award. However, when we have a competition, there's a 3-month period prior to the beginning of the subsequent grant cycle. And so what we do is award subrecipients an allocation of federal funds for the summer months, and then we award them an amount of grant funds for the period of the grant year. So it's a 15-month grant cycle. So you will be developing your budget based on 15 months for the AFE local. And there are sample expenditures below for you to look at. Please take a peek at it, and you'll see sample expenditures for professional services and salaries, supplies, other objects, fixed properties. So please take a peek at that. We're asking you to develop your budgets based on an award of $510,000 at this time. This is the starting point. All of the budgets will have to be modified once the number of applicants are determined. We will also determine the amount of grant funds that will be awarded to each recipient. The budgets on each tab have been highlighted. So this is the AFE local sample. So that there's the total award is $255,000 for for $38,250 total admin and indirect. I want to let you know that the indirect cost has to be negotiated with OSSE. So the Enterprise Grants Management System will not allow you to ask for indirect costs if you have not negotiated an indirect cost rate with OSSE. You can definitely include administrative charges, and we've included the link for you to get additional information about that process if you so want to do so. And then after this tab, we have a sample budget tracker that is completed by the AFE monitors. And what they do is keep an account of the drawdown of your grant funds via the submission of cost reimbursements to make sure that we stay on top of utilizing and drawing down grant amounts. This green section is for the period of July through September, and the salmon section is from October through September. And this is for the 15-month period for the AFE local one. All of the other budgets are for 12 months. So the federal budget, 231, 243, and 225, they're all for 12 months. And so you'll see that the template for them is different. You're only going to indicate the expenditures from the period of October 1, 25 through September 30th, 2026. This template is blank. And then we also have the sample tracker for every single budget. So you got your 243 budget template, 225, the AFE local. Again, the one that you're supposed to complete, the AFE local, is the only budget that has a 15-month budget worksheet. Everything else has 12. So please make sure that you review the amount that has been allocated for each budget and that you create the budget for this amount, inclusive of or not inclusive of the administrative / indirect cap for each of the budgets that are applicable. And then the match tab, you have to provide a 25% match, which is right now $127,500. So this is a sample match workbook. It gives you some examples of expenditures and sources of other revenue that can be used as part of your non-federal match. So please take a peek at that before you complete the match worksheet for your organization. The program income worksheet is for you to complete. If you charge tuition and fees, you need to specify the funding that you expect to collect and what you're going to spend it on. So we have a sample, and then we have the blank template for you to complete. And then this is the budget summary that gives you an accounting of all of the expenditures across all the grants. So there's the sample budget, the percentages. This is the sample, administrative, indirect, etc. And then we have a budget summary for each of the grant types. Your match will populate this table, this column in the tables. The program income will populate this column in the table. And then the total budget will populate column U. At the bottom is another section where we track the WIOA career and training services via the trackers that automatically feed here. So this is the budget workbook that must be completed and uploaded in the Enterprise Grants Management System. And you will copy and paste these expenditures from the workbook into the detailed plan expenditure tabs in the enterprise grants management system. So you're entering data and you're uploading data in eGMS. And then lastly, we have prepared and updated the grant competition reference guide. It includes questions, frequently asked questions about the adult and family education grant competition. We have the statement of need, background information. There's information about the partnering with other organizations, the provision of the IENT program models. There's information about eligibility criteria, requirements of local education agencies that receive or do not receive IDA funding, the literacy and numeracy levels. So please take some time and review this. Section 5 focuses on the grant requirements. So we did accept questions from March 31st. And so in order to get these posted on the website to get you sufficient time, give you sufficient time to prepare your grant applications, we wanted to make sure that these were posted on the websites, on our website under the OSSE AFE tab. So please take a look at these responses, and I apologize, we cannot accept any more questions, but hopefully whatever questions you have, you'll find in the reference guide. There are a lot of questions about evidence of demonstrated effectiveness, the chart, and there's other information about the pre-application process. Please make sure you take care of this immediately, getting that SAM's expiration date, clean hands, a certificate of good standing. And then we have a lot of questions in here about eGMS. So make sure you review those. The paper-based application, the review, scoring, and selection of the applications, the rubric, and the grant awards. And then we also provided a section titled Tips for Completing the Budget and Finance Workbook. So please take a peek at that. And then tips for submitting the application in the enterprise grants management system. So we tried to be as thorough as possible in responding to the questions, but the request for application is extremely detailed, as is the PowerPoint presentation is already on the website. So please take a peek at it. It includes all the details. Everything you need to know, everything you need to do is in the PowerPoint as well. So please make sure that you review this. It also includes information about our funding. It's the same information in everywhere. It's in the RFA. Everything in here came right out of the RFA. So it's all in the RFA. It's in the PowerPoint. It's in the questions. This is an image of our IENT model, which incorporates digital literacy and digital skills training. This is the new direction that we're moving into. We're so grateful to have had the opportunity to transition from just providing adult education, literacy, and numeracy instruction to district residents. And we're grateful to the professional development partners who worked with us to launch our occupational literacy project and then transition to integrated education and training to include workforce prep and workforce training in our program model. And now we're really striving to move forward to help adult learners acquire basic digital literacy skills and the ability to earn badges using North Star Digital Literacy. And then we're also planning to partner with an entity to provide fundamental and advanced courses, IT and other related courses for students and staff to take advantage of. And they can earn those entry-level certificates with the fundamental courses and be able to earn industry recognized credentials with the advanced training courses. We're excited to really launch this in 26. And so thank you for your interest in our work, and we hope that this information provides you with a snapshot of who we are and what we're doing and where we're going. We piloted, I also want to share that we piloted HyFlex learning these past 2 years, and so that's in the RFA. We expect organizations to be able to offer IET plus D services to students in person and online synchronously, as well as online asynchronously. And so we're really, we've been at this for quite a while. I want to say maybe 2014. We've come a long way, and we haven't arrived, and we're still striving to engage in continuous improvement and increase outcomes for district residents. Blessings to each and every one of you as you consider whether or not this is a path that you want to pursue. And please make sure that you go to our website to get additional information. Have a blessed remainder of your day, everybody.
Thank you. You do the same.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great